Before the infamous partition of Africa at the 1884 Berlin Conference, borders in Africa were not rigid lines. Instead, they were fluid and represented a smooth continuation between tribes, clans, cultures, languages, intermarriages, and even royal governance structures. This symbiotic and fluid freedom allowed people to establish, reside, trade, marry, and bridge diverse cultures and genetics seamlessly. One of the most striking and even shocking consequences of the Berlin Conference was the imposition of arbitrary borders that disregarded the existing social and cultural landscapes. Within the East African Community, EAC, these borders cut straight through families and ethnic groups such as the Maasai between Kenya and Tanzania, the Luo between Uganda and Kenya, and the Banyarwanda between Rwanda and its neighbors. Consider other countries in Africa such as the Hausa regions spanning Nigeria and Niger. The 500-kilometer-long border between Niger to the north and Nigeria to the south cuts through one of the most densely populated areas of both nations. The Nigeria-Niger border bisects through Hausa land, completely disregarding the familial, cultural, traditional, and social values, ethos, and taboos that have defined the Hausa kingdom for millennia. This division is a legacy of British and French imperialism and exploitation, far away from the interests of Hausa. In the 19th century, during the scramble for Africa and the Berlin Conference, the Congo people were divided among three European colonial powers. The northernmost regions were annexed by France, now forming parts of the Republic of Congo and Gabon. The central region, along the Congo River and extensive inland areas, was claimed by the ruthless Belgian King Leopold II as his personal property, later becoming the Belgian colony that is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. The southern regions, now Angola, remained under Portuguese control. Traditionally, these divisions did not exist. There were no distinct countries in the East African region as we understand them today. These modern states are not part of the African legacy and social fabric, but rather the remnants of the silo states inherited from the Berlin Conference, which saw no African representation. The primary motive behind the Berlin Conference was to establish a framework for peaceful domination among European powers over Africa, facilitating extensive exploitation and plundering. This conference was driven by an insatiable desire for territorial control and the extraction of the continent's abundant resources. In a finer analysis, European powers gathered to slice Africa into unsustainable states, disregarding the centuries-old socio-cultural fabric and economic landscapes. Before the Berlin Conference, only 20% of Africa was under European control. By 1914, 90% of Africa was under the control of various European countries. Julius Nyerere aptly observed, "We have artificial nations carved out at the Berlin Conference in 1884, and today we are struggling to build these nations into stable units of human society. We are in danger of becoming the most balkanized continent in the world." Several colonial powers imposed their own boundaries on the continent, splitting entire groups of people or forcing them together. By the time they regained their independence, they had endured a legacy of conflict, fragmentation, and a deep-seated dependence on their former colonial rulers. This is why most African leaders, who inherited colonial-era fragmented silo states, face significant challenges in establishing their legitimacy over their nations. These silo states are often an amalgamation of races and tribes with diverse cultures and traditions, some of which have been in conflict for centuries. Their sole purpose was to serve the egregious exploitation and unquestionable control of colonial powers over African resources. This situation often leads to governance and development approaches that are extroverted and exogenous rather than endogenous. The African leaders, as a matter of survival, often rely on their former colonial powers and the broader Western Bloc, led by the United States, to fill budgetary gaps and provide military bases, frequently for personal security, much to the delight of foreign predators and opportunists. For some African leaders, the domestic issues they confront are daunting and genuinely terrifying, pushing them further towards external dependence, even to the extent of becoming compradors, fully serving foreign interests. As you can see, the objective of the Berlin Conference was clear: establish control over African territories and maximize the exploitation of their resources for the benefit of European economies forever. Unfortunately, The motives behind the Berlin Conference and the partitioning of Africa remain evident today, as African leaders continue to govern the fragmented states created by this infamous conference.